You ever have that feeling that you just don't belong? That you're on the outside looking in? Well, it turns out that exact feeling might just be the single most important starting point for figuring out who you're meant to be. Today, we're going to look at how some of the most iconic songs and movies actually give us a roadmap for personal growth, a journey from feeling like an outsider to, well, creating your own authentic self. All right, let's get into it.
You know, every meaningful journey of self-discovery, whether we realize it or not, pretty much always kicks off from the exact same place. This deep, profound feeling of being an outsider, of being just different.
And this lyric, I mean, wow. This is basically the emotional ground zero for our whole conversation. It's that raw, gut punch feeling of inadequacy, of being out of place that so many of us know so well. It's that painful moment you realize, oh, I don't fit into the normal way of things.
But listen, this stage isn't just about feeling down on yourself or having low self-esteem. It's something much, much deeper, an existential wake-up call, really. And that pain, that feeling of not fitting in, that's the essential raw material you absolutely need to start building an authentic self. So what do you do with all that pain? Well, it turns out that initial gut-wrenching feeling of alienation can be the fuel for an incredible journey toward authenticity. But here's the thing, there's no single one-size-fits-all road to take. Pop culture actually shows us there are a few very distinct paths. You can transform that feeling through sheer defiance, or because you have no other choice, or you can get philosophical about it, or you can become the creator of your own identity. Let's break these down one by one. Okay, first up, the defiant path. This is for anyone who takes the pain of being rejected and basically forges it into a weapon. It's a powerful statement of individual strength, a totally uncompromising way of asserting who you are.
And this lyric? It's the ultimate anthem for that defiance, isn't it? The person becomes so powerful, so self-defined, that the very systems that tried to shut them out become totally irrelevant, powerless.
Next, we've got the necessity-driven path. This is where finding your authentic self isn't really a choice, it's a requirement for survival. Think about it. Sometimes being displaced, like in the immigrant experience, forces you to realize that home isn't a place on a map. It's something you have to build inside yourself. This line just illustrates that so perfectly. When you literally don't have physical roots, your identity has to be built from something else, from your memories, your experiences, and this powerful sense of self-reliance. It's not about a plot of land anymore. All right, now things get a little darker, a little more complex, with the philosophical path. This is all about moving beyond society's simple, easy labels of good and evil, and actually creating a brand new moral rulebook for yourself. We see this explored in a really masterful way in the world of The Last of Us. Just look at what they do here. They take this sacred, well-known text about finding comfort in God, and they just flip it completely on its head. Suddenly, comfort doesn't come from a higher power, it comes from self-reliance. My mind and my gun. You're not fearless because of faith. You're fearless because those old ideas of good and evil just don't apply to you anymore. You're past them. And this brings us to the ultimate archetype in this whole journey, the self-creator. And honestly, there is no better example than Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. So Rocket's origin story is just one of total oppression, right? He was designed, tortured, and then literally thrown away by his creator, the High Evolutionary, who basically labeled him a failed experiment, an imperfect being. And this is his answer. This one line is the ultimate declaration of self-creation. It's a complete 100% rejection of his creator's judgment. He's not defined by where he came from. He defines himself, and he does it on his own terms. Period. But forging your own path, throwing off the world's labels, that doesn't come for free. There's a really profound and often unspoken price you have to pay for this kind of authenticity. Because here's the hard truth. Even when you go beyond society's conventions, you don't magically go beyond the fundamental human need for connection. And when you decide to walk a path that nobody else is on, well, it can be an incredibly lonely experience. This lyric just captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? It's that haunting, quiet acknowledgement of the solitude that so often comes with living a life that you've defined for yourself. So it really seems like every path we've talked about involves rejecting systems, pushing back against something. But is that the only way? Is outright rebellion the only route to becoming who you're truly meant to be? Well, here's a fascinating counterpoint.
Johnny Cash's I Walk the Line actually shows us another way, the path of chosen constraint. Instead of rejecting all the rules, he finds his freedom by creating his own internal rules, a moral framework built on a commitment he chose. So you see, authenticity can come from discipline, not just defiance.
So here's the crucial takeaway. This whole journey, from feeling like a creep, an outsider, to becoming a creator of your own life, this is a fundamental pattern of how we grow as human beings.
And you start to see this theme everywhere once you look for it. This quote describes the idea of a pop culture Last Supper, which is just a perfect metaphor for what we're talking about. It captures that spirit of philosophical rebellion, of reevaluating everything we hold sacred by putting modern anti-heroes in those traditional revered roles.
Okay, so let's quickly bring it all together. We saw the defiant path of just pure self-assertion. We had the philosophical path that goes way beyond good and evil. We even saw a counterpoint in the path of chosen constraint, and of course, the ultimate expression in the self-creator. Each one is a totally valid response to that initial painful feeling of not belonging.
At the end of the day, that experience of being an outsider, as painful as it feels at the time, is exactly what drives us forward. It's the engine of personal growth, and you could even say, of cultural evolution itself, all pushed forward by every single person who dares to define themselves.
Which leaves us with one last, really important question. If that feeling of being a creep, a weirdo, isn't the end, if it's really just the starting line, what kind of creator are you going to choose to be?